Hey guys, this is the Octopus Hermit, emerging from my solitude to talk about the things I've viewed. This is my review of One Piece Chapter 781. This chapter was fantastic. It starts off with the citizens of Dressrosa noticing that the birdcage is shrinking more and more. It cuts up buildings like they're loaves of bread, and all the citizens are panicking. They're trying to get towards the center. There are pirates tied up saying, "Somebody help, untie me. At least untie my legs, help. I can't move." And then we see Doflamingo telling Luffy that the cage will finish closing in about an hour's time. And Doflamingo is just talking all sorts of trash to Luffy, saying that there's no hope, it's all gonna end. He'll just start a new country, no big deal. But for everybody else. And we get a couple panels of Sabo running, presumably to go help Luffy, unless he's gonna be distracted by something else. Now Luffy's tired of hearing Doflamingo run his mouth, so he charges at him, and he's about to do a jet pistol, but then we hear shambles. Huh? And suddenly Law and Luffy switch places, and now Law's right in Doflamingo's face with an attack ready. And this attack is called Gamma Knife, and it attacks the organs directly without causing external injuries. So this is a pretty deadly attack, you can't avoid it. And Treble says to Law, "How are you doing this attack without your room open?" And Law says, "My room is open, it's just so big that you weren't aware of it." And then we get a zoomed out panel showing the area where Law's room is. Now this is the opposite of what I had predicted. I predicted that Law was just going to make a small room inside his body so he could avoid being injured by the bullets. But I guess a bigger room would make more sense, especially since we've seen it from him before, especially at the end of Punk Hazard. And then we get a flashback showing Law switching places with a dead soldier after he got shot by Doflamingo the first time in the previous chapter. Law just switched his bodies without switching the clothes so Doflamingo wouldn't notice, and then switched back after Doflamingo had finished shooting him. And so when Luffy did see Law's body, it was Law whispering at the end of last chapter, saying, "I'm alive, don't look back. I've got a plan, just go with it." And cut back to the present, after Law had just attacked Doflamingo's organs directly. Doflamingo grabs Law in the face with one hand, and with the other hand he's getting ready to do an attack. Luffy comes in and does a jet stamp on Doflamingo, and Doflamingo lets go of Law, and he gets knocked backwards into some rubble, and now he's just laying on his back. And Luffy starts to run towards Doflamingo, but then Law says, "Hold on, Straw Hat, he's mine." And Luffy's like, "Can you even fight at this point? You're still kinda disarmed there." So Law goes up to Doflamingo and he tells him that his organs are basically destroyed by the Gamma Knife, and that there's no way out of this. And Treble goes to attack Law, and Luffy just kicks him to the side like he's nothing. Treble just splats on the ground, and Law says to Doflamingo, "You call whoever's convenient to you your family." Now I've noticed there's a bit of a parallel between Doflamingo and Corazon in how they handled things, and how they saw family. The way Doflamingo viewed family was very conditional. It's whoever's loyal to him, whoever's convenient, whoever he can use. But to Corazon, it was more unconditional. I mean, Law had stabbed Corazon in the back at one point, and Corazon just let it slide. He just put some bandages on, and he ends up eventually giving up his life for Law. And I think to some degree Doflamingo is jealous and or insecure about their relationship, their bond. Because both Law and Corazon rejected Doflamingo. Law had the choice to either stay with Doflamingo or go with Corazon, and he chose to go with Corazon. And Corazon had the choice to either stay with Doflamingo or take Law away, and he chose to take Law away to save his life. And in both of these situations, Doflamingo is rejected. And Law says to Doflamingo, "When your brother tried to stop you from going off the deep end, you shot him dead." And Doflamingo's just laying there like, yeah, it was unfortunate, but he did betray me. And he pointed a gun at me. And Law says to Doflamingo, "You knew that Corazon didn't have the resolve to pull the trigger, but I do." And then Doflamingo starts laughing and says, "Apparently so. You and I are the same after all." And Law says, "I'm fine with that." So then Law tells Doflamingo straight up, "It should have been you that died instead of Corazon." And then Doflamingo just starts mocking Corazon. This is fine, is this what you want to hear? I never cared about Corazon, blah 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 blah. And he just starts saying all this stuff. And Law comes in with his attack, the Counter Shock. And then Law falls down, assuming that the fight is over. But then we see Doflamingo just stand up, like, oh. And Doflamingo says that he used his strings to do some emergency surgery. He's just sewing his organs together for the moment so he can continue fighting. And he's standing over Law. Law is collapsed at this point. And Doflamingo just lifts up his foot and he's getting ready to just stomp down on Law. And he goes to stomp down and then Luffy blocks it with his foot. And then we see Law like, damn it, I couldn't do it. I couldn't finish him. And then the chapter ends with Doflamingo and Luffy just giving each other death stares. So this was a fantastic chapter. It was good to see how competent Doflamingo is compared to the rest of his family. Because if it was any other family member, they would have been down for the count. But Doflamingo, he used his abilities cleverly so he can continue fighting. He's just on a whole other level compared to the rest of his family. And I think that having Doflamingo get injured somewhat puts him on a more level playing field with Luffy. I think Doflamingo's still gonna give Luffy a run for his money, but at least this way it's a little more even. And we know that Sabo is on his way to help Luffy, but at this rate, they might not need him. It might be an unfair advantage for the protagonists at this point. It seems like Law is getting pretty worn out, but I wager that he could still take on Trabel if Luffy could just knock him aside easily with one kick. I could see Luffy taking on Doflamingo for the final fight, and then I could see Law handling Trabel. And then Sabo would show up afterwards, because that would remove a lot of tension if Sabo showed up and helped Luffy out. We know that Jesus Burgess is still out there somewhere. He could potentially stop Sabo. So that's all for my review. This was a highly enjoyable chapter. Things are really heating up now, and I can't wait to see what happens next week. So feel free to like my video, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment, whatever floats your boat. Thank you for watching, and I'll see ya.